Hi, I'm going to do a review on a new system that I just built. This is a Mini-ITX system. This is using a coolermaster Mini-ITX case, and I'm going to show you the components that I use for it. I don't see any reviews of this system, so I'm going to do one myself. With this system, I purchased the brand new AMD A10 7850K, and this is the video or the processor that has the R7 250 video card built into it. It says that it is a 4 GHz max turbo with 4 MB cache. It's a 4-core. They just barely released this processor. I haven't had an ATI video card or CPU since the AMD 965 Black Edition, and with that I had a dual 4890 X2. I think it was a 4890 X2. I had two of those, so I had 4 video cards basically in that system, and that sucker took up so much electricity that I have been on a mission to reduce my amount of CPU usage and power output, or power usage as well. So I'm pretty excited about this. This is basically a budget build. I'm going to show you what I'm doing. I'm doing something unique. So we're using this processor. I purchased the ASRock FM2A88X ITX Plus motherboard. This is all available on Newegg. It comes with the motherboard, a manual, a CD, and then the Wi-Fi module there, which I'll be hooking up later. And wrapped inside of it is the, I'm trying to think which one this is. I think this is the Elite 120 Mini-ITX case. So coming around to the back here, what makes this special, why I really wanted to buy that, is I had this 950 watt coolermaster ATX, full-size ATX power supply that I had sitting around, and I couldn't sell it on eBay, so I paid $320 for this, I think 5 years ago, and right when it first came out it was brand spanking new, and this was used to power that 965 Black Edition. I had 16 gigabytes of RAM, I had 4 hard drives, I had the two 4890 X2 video cards from Radeon, and it was just a beast. So this powered that. This thing got pretty hot, but it powered it. I never had a failure. Right here, this is a XFX R9 250 video card. So if you paid attention, the R9 250 video card here is the same as the R9 250 onboard video card on the processor. This is the only setup that crossfires natively. So the processor in there and this one will automatically crossfire in the driver. That's why I did it specifically. So on the back portion of the motherboard here, you got your USB 2.0. These PS2 ports here, which I don't know. I haven't seen them in years. Have a DVI, like an old CRT monitor port for some reason. Has an HDMI out and in. These are the Wi-Fi adapters, and I put these in. You have to put these in. You gotta screw them in. This takes an 8mm socket to tighten that up. And then your USB 2.0s. This is an external SATA, your brand new USB 3.0 hard LAN, and then your your digital input and your outputs for your sound. So also on this case, so you got your 2.0s, your sound out, and then you also have a 3.0 port here, and then there is one CD-ROM drive port there. Opening up the case here. So when you buy this video card, when you buy the R7 250 video card from Newegg, from XFX, the only one that was available at the time was this video card that had this cooler on it, and that thing was loud. I mean, that thing was just really, really crazy loud. So let me show you what it was. That's the cooler that comes with it from the factory. And this little fan, when you start playing a video, opening up a video game, it's just really loud. So what I did was I took that cooler off and I put this 80mm fan on there from Arctic Cooling. I really like that one. So far it's a lot quieter than my air compressor in the house. So going around here, I put some LED lights up there. These were out of a car, but I soldered in a connector. This is my power supply. I know this is overkill for it, but this is a really, really good power supply. I've had this for so long, it's just not going to fail me. So trying to peek in there, you see the processor. What's interesting is it's just a really, really cheap fan and heatsink, and there's been a lot of complaints about it, and I could see why. But the problem is I don't really have a lot of room. I think what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to buy a Arctic Cooling 70mm fan and stick it on there, because that fan, it's weird. It looks like AMD really went cheap with this fan. It's a Foxconn fan, which you know, it's weird because Foxconn, not AMD or anything. So what I did is I actually flipped that fan around, because the power supply is going to draw a bunch of air through here, so I didn't want to fight air pushing down and up at the same time, so I flipped that fan around so it's actually blowing up into the power supply. And then in the power supply itself, that fan failed a few years ago, and I just replaced it with a Arctic Cooling 140mm fan. So as you can see, I really like Arctic Cooling fans. So going over to the other side, this is a Seagate Barracuda 1TB. This is an SSD HD. So this has a built-in SSD drive underneath it, and it's used as an onboard cache. And I really like this hard drive. I have two of these. I have one that's a non-SSD and one that is this SSD. And this drive is actually twice as fast as my son's. So just having the SSD portion on this hard drive is incredibly worth it. It is very, very fast. Now, it's not full speed as fast as a solid SSD, but with the built-in SSD built on there, that it makes it really, really nice. It works really, really fast. And then moving along here, this fan is included here, and it's going to be blowing on my twin sticks of 1866 16GB RAM. So you can see up in there. This is what it looks like. Now this is pretty tight, pretty cramped. You really got to know the direction you want to go and have a game plan in mind, because once you start in it, you'll have to start taking things apart if you screw up. Cable management is Warzone. It looks really bad. These guys recommend not using a power supply this big and this heavy duty, and I actually have most of my cables out, unplugged. This is a modular power supply, and I have most of them unplugged because it would just be a big mess in there. So be prepared for that. Make sure you get a power supply that you're either going to modify these cables yourself and cut them and shorten them, or get something that has you don't need long cables. You can get the shortest cables possible. So coming around to the front here, I'm going to pop this cover off. So the cover pops off there. And this is how you replace the front fan. You can see I put an Arctic cooling fan in there, and it comes with, this case does come with a coolermaster fan, which is a pretty good fan, but I like Arctic cooling. I've never had a failure, so obviously you can see everything I have is Arctic cooling. And there's my CD-ROM drive. Now this is a toolless case, so you actually just flip this lever in there, and then the hard drive, see that how it says open. This CD-ROM drive will pull right straight out. You don't even need to remove the cover for that, but I'm showing you what this looks like there. So just put that back on. Okay, so that's all done. Let's see, what else can I show you? So basically this is one of my two computers. The next one that I'm doing has a pure SSD with a 3770 with Windows 7 Windows 7 64 with an NVIDIA 650 Ti graphics card. And I'm going to be doing a side-by-side benchmark because a lot of people request the benchmarks between these budget builds. So this one's a system that you can put inside of your bookcase and run this on your TV, and that's pretty much what people are looking for when they're buying this. So I'm gonna do a video doing benchmarks with Battlefield 4, PC Mark, Pass Mark, and maybe another game if I can find a good game that's gonna test the two really well and show what the differences are. But this system alone, if it was just left on the processor alone with the one 250 card, whether it is the 250 card on the processor or the 250 card alone right here with the 3770 NVIDIA or Intel processor, you can't really play games really well with just one of these cards. It slows down. Borderlands 2, it gets hard to aim on enemies and hit them. So the only way to really do this properly, if you want to play games and really enjoy it, is to crossfire the two. It's just worth it to think about it. So I'll do some price comparisons and show what the prices are between the two, and you can make up your own mind what you think is a better option. Also, one thing I wanted to show you is one of the problems with these little micro cases is once you get the power supply in, you have to bring it inside the case, and you have to disconnect a whole bunch of stuff, and it just becomes really difficult when you have to replace a power supply. This one, you actually can either put it in the inside, which is what I did when I built it, or later on you can actually just undo these 4 screws here, and the power supply comes right out. So you can put the power supply inside, or you can even slide it in through the back here. And then something else I forgot to mention is there is a water outlet here for your water tubes. I don't know where you would mount the radiator, but there is a hole here for something, so you can put your finger in there if you want. But so I'm going to turn this on and show you what it looks like. So I thought the blue lights would be kind of a cool touch. It's not even very bright at all. You can barely see. It's just really nice. It just gives it a nice glow. So these are just, I bought these at AutoZone. They're just a stick-on 12-volt LED light, and I've got it on both sides because when I pop my case I like to see inside there sometimes, see if the fans are working. Bring it over here to that side. And it kind of looks like crap because of all of the cables, but I don't know, you can only do what you can do. So let me put the case cover back on. Alright, so there you have it. That's my CooleraMaster Elite 120, and the next review that you see is actually going to be of playing Battlefield or But yeah, Battlefield 4, probably Borderlands 2, and I'll show you what it can actually do. So I bought all of these components on Newegg. Most of them I bought all at the same time, but some of them are pretty old. I bought that CoolerMaster 950 or CoolMax 950B power supply like 5 years ago, so I bought that on Newegg, and it's just been an excellent power supply. So so that's this part, and you can check me out on YouTube for my reviews between 3770 Intel processor with a NVIDIA 650 Ti video card, and the new series APU CrossFIRE natively between its own processor, onboard video card processor, and an external R7 250. And you see what I'll do some prices. I'll go and get both the prices, put it on there, and tell you what the comparisons are as well for the prices. Alright, thanks for watching. Bye.